Hello. Hello. Nice doggy. Ooh, nice Type R. So yeah, sending the blade over to Aaron at Gideon's Tactical. So Aaron, if you by any chance see this, I am so sorry I let the cat out of the bag, but really, who watches it? Who watches this stuff? Who watches a guy talk about knives on a bike? No one in their right mind, that's who. I love all of yous, you know that. But yeah, so that's happening. I do enjoy fixed blades, but as I said, as tools, they are there to work. And you know what, if I'm not going to use it, I ain't going to buy it. And if I buy it and I don't use it, or I buy it and it doesn't fill a specific role, I'm gonna let it go and someone else can have it. You know, I'll sell it on. Yeah, the steel thing, I like the higher end steels, I'll be honest. It's just a me thing, it's just the way things have developed with me as a person. I enjoy them a bit more, and I just enjoy how they perform. So that's just how I'm going to go with it from now on. I'm going to try and get a higher end steel when I can over the likes of Aussie. Whenever it comes to full tang knives, if it's an outdoor knife, a primary outdoor knife, or I'm buying it for that reason, it needs to be full tang. It's just one of those characteristics I look for when I'm buying it. Whenever I've thought it through and I've given it thought as to what I want from the knife, you know, I make the assessment then. But if it's for the outdoors, if it's a primary outdoor knife or a primary hard use knife, it's got to be full tang for me. So that's just the way I look at things. It's my general outlook on blades. If it's like a recreational knife, and like the best point of view for that, like the best example I have for that is the Mora knives in general. I think it's such a good recreational blade, as in you're going out to practice bushcraft and carve items, all that type of thing, as more of like a hobby fun side of it. It doesn't really weigh as much on full tang because you're not super reliant and dependent on it. So I'm okay with it then, in my eyes at least. And also if it's just like a backup knife, you know, I think it isn't so vital then. For an EDC fixed blade, I like full tangs because, you know, you never know if you need to pry open something. Like, I know you're not meant to pry out your knives, but, you know, it happens from time to time. I'm okay with, well, I look for a fixed blade, like a full tang then. But one thing I do like, especially for an outdoor blade, is an exposed pommel. Now I've got, as I said, the Falkneven, which has the tang protrudes at the rear, which sort of acts as a pommel. So it sort of works in that regard. So it does. And honestly, I enjoy it. It just, first of all, it sort of is reassuring, if anything. And also, yeah, it's somewhat reassuring, but also if you're out in the woods and you need a hammer, use it as a hammer, just like to tap in a stake or something, you know, it's nice to have, but it isn't vital for me. Like the SRK, the Cold Steel SRK, it doesn't have an exposed tang or a pommel, so, you know, I'm okay with it in that regard. Sheath options, hey, I like both leather and Kydex. Again, depending on what it's used for. If it's like an EDC sheath, I'm easy either way. As long as it's comfortable, I'm happy. and that actually goes with an outdoor knife. I do prefer a Kydex sheath or a plastic molded sheath for an outdoor knife, purely because it doesn't retain moisture, doesn't get soaked. It's a less to worry about. The same principle essentially as why I choose stainless blades over carbon. It's just less maintenance, less hassle, less to worry about, less to think of, and less to basically draw my attention away from whatever it is I'm doing. Blade shapes and grinds, that's a whole debate in itself essentially in the outdoor community. My preferences in blade shape is that your traditional drop points. I like the way that works, and also one thing that I really enjoy is Bowie knives or clip blades, whatever we want to call them. I enjoy that. I know it's got downsides to it, but you know, it's one of those times where the aesthetics of the knife really draw my heart to one side of the fence over the other, you know. Such a nice day for a ride. You see, this is all wet here still. With the blade grind aspect of it, for an outdoor knife, if it's hollow ground, I stay away from it, purely because it normally tends to have a thinner edge, which is then more susceptible to chipping, rolling, breaking. You know, it's more hassle than it's worth to me. Anything from half to three quarters, half, well yeah, actually anything with a bit of a flat to the top quarter to third of the blade near the spine, I really enjoy them because it gives me enough to have meat behind the edge, as in like good stability behind the edge, not making it that it's too fine and it'll break, it'll roll or chip or break off, you know. So from that side of things, anything that's got that flat spot near the spine, like the SRK, it's got a good flat to it. It's got about a 2/3 ground, so it comes up 2/3, then it's got a third on up. The oops, gotta go. The Falcon even is something similar. It's convex ground instead of flat ground in those areas. So those aspect things, either or essentially. But for an EDC knife, I would stay away from that because it's so thick then behind the edge. It doesn't make it easy to cut. It acts more as a wedge than anything, and it's somewhat counterproductive in that regard then. For EDC knives, hollow ground, sweet. And blade thickness is actually a big thing for whenever it's an EDC knife. The SRK and the Falcon even are about 3/4 of an inch thick, maybe a hair under. They're actually the same blade thickness, those two, so whatever one is, the other one is. They're a bit too thick, in my opinion, for EDC. I'd stay away from them. I'd stick with more of the conventional blade thickness of folding knives in a fixed blade form. Nothing too extreme in the thickness terms. Yeah, you don't really need anything too meaty for an EDC knife, but you know, I haven't got too many EDC friendly fixed blades. I've got two Benchmade fixed blades. It's part of their old Bone Collector lineup, now been replaced with the Hunt line. They're good knives. They're nice and thin for the most, like they're fairly conventional, maybe 3mm thick, and they're in D2, which is a steel I love. It's a great steel, especially for EDC. You know, there is other knives. There's a few EDC sized fixed blades out there that I'm looking at, but you know, funds are sort of being diverted elsewhere at the moment. You know, I'm fairly open to it, but like to playing about with different grind patterns and blade shapes and all, especially whenever it comes to an everyday carry type capacity of a knife. Like, I'm lucky with the blades that I do own. You know, like, they're good knives and they're fairly stable in what they do. You know, they're fairly consistent, can't really go wrong with them, you know. I just wanted to talk to you about the whole knife thing so you can get my perspective on it and what I'm sort of thinking and what I look for whenever it comes to a knife, you know, because some of this stuff out there is expensive. Like the Bark River stuff, there's some really nice blades that they do, but they are one of the more, I would categorize Bark River as the Microtech of the outdoor knife, if that makes any sense. Like, you know, Microtech is a high-end tactical knife company, basically. Well, that's basically what they are. Bark River are very much that high-end production, well, limited production outdoor knife company. Like, they make great products from my understanding. You know, they're cool blades, and I'm not ruling out ever getting one, because I'm actually I have actually got one on my to get list which might never happen, but it's certainly on the list of things to look at. We all have our own preferences, especially whenever it comes to blades. It's very much an individual thing. We all have our own preferences, and like with Falkhaven, whatever you want to call it, their handles are notoriously small for the American market. But for me, like, I've got small hands, I struggle to actually find gloves that fit. You know, I can't just go in and why? I can't just go in and pick up a glove that says small. You know, there's some smalls that are massive on me, there's some that just fit good. So I do have small hands, and Falkhaven are great for me. Like, their handle, it's a perfect size for me. Little things like that makes so much difference to us all. Like the grinds that we like, the handle shapes, materials that we like, all that type of thing makes it all our own, and we all have different views on it. So, you know, that's one of those things. And as I said before, I'm some dude on the internet, so, you know, I gotta have an opinion, and I gotta force my opinion on everyone else. But let's be honest, whenever it comes to knife opinions, it's very subjective, and we all have different tastes and different needs for knives. So, and plus we can't really criticize someone whenever they go out and spend £400 on a knife just because we can't front up the cash ourselves. But hey, we all have our own thing. That's why there's so many knives out there. We're gonna at least find one for someone. But anyway, appreciate you watching. I do. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favour and actually hit that like button. Alright, love yous, God bless, see yous, stay safe. Bye bye.